WMMR, everything that rocks. Jackson here, and we welcome to the MMR studios for another MM Archive session. This will be the second one for Seether. The first one was back in 2006, I believe, 2006 at the Grape Street when it was in Manayunk.
Yeah.
That was the CD that was released as an acoustic CD and DVD. One cold night. Yeah. So this will be the second time we've had you guys in to perform live. So please welcome Seether, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to have the guys, Sean, Dale, John, and Brian. Let's start with Brian, the newest member of the band. Don't get too close to him because it's like Spinal Tap with guitar players and these guys. They just... he may actually blow up or meet an untimely death. Brian, welcome. Glad to have you here, man. Glad to have you here. So you're no stranger to the band, though. You were a guitar tech for many years, right? Yeah, go ahead and lift the microphone up to the... I know, you're in a band. How do I work this microphone?
We don't let him talk.
I've known guys for some time, and then ended up going teching for them for 3.5 years. And
right.
Now I'm playing.
And then they decided they liked you, and they bring you out on stage and let you play. Again, be careful. Very, very careful.
I stay away from sharp objects.
Don't walk on ice.
Yeah,
don't do anything. Don't do anything too crazy. So welcome to the studio. The guys are going to play a few songs for us today. It's going to be a really, really good time. This is probably Sean. This is probably a question you've been asked 100 times, and I've seen it 100 times. But you were really influenced as a teenager by Kurt Cobain. By Nirvana, correct?
I don't know where you heard that.
Because it's been right all over the place, and you've been asked 1,000 times. But it's funny when you think back at how many people he's actually influenced. You know, every year his birthday rolls around, and every year the anniversary of his death rolls around, and you realize just how many people he influenced. Because myself, having no discernible talent with instruments or vocals, had to choose the next best thing. But Nirvana was one of my early influences. One of the things that really got me into music and really made me want to be a part of this business, you know.
Well, I mean, I liked learning to play guitar to them because it was easy to learn.
Right.
You know, it wasn't very difficult to play their stuff. So it suited my needs at the time, and I liked that my parents didn't like what they sounded like.
Right.
So,
Right.
You know, but all those bands from that era were. I mean, I was 13.
Yeah.
It's just when you start discovering music and you start stepping away from pop music and like listening to stuff that you start identifying with on a more emotional level. You know, so it was Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam, Nirvana. Right. All those bands.
And you were a self-taught guitar player?
Yeah, I'm sure you can tell.
Yeah.
not a lot of shredding going on here.
So tell me about the title to the new record. I've always found your albums. I've been a fan for many years. If you go all the way back to Disclaimer, I remember like there were 10 to 15 different album covers on the very first record, which I thought was super cool. And I've always
I think it would have been super cool if they'd actually put the band name anywhere on those covers.
Right.
Because it was confusing.
Well, there was Disclaimer too. Which,
but it was this great marketing thing that our old label had, and then they decided that they wouldn't anywhere put the band name. So you'd go to the record stores and it was like either 10 different albums that looked pretty similar by different bands called "I Hate You" and "I Hate Myself" or whatever.
Right.
And there was a little tiny band name on the spine. So I mean, I guess it was a cool concept. It just sort of flopped a little, I think. But it was cool that we could do it. Yeah.
You've and so the album titles and the album art have always been very interesting. Tell me about this new one, "Isolate and Medicate."
There's not much to it, man.
Is there some hidden meaning there, or is that pretty literal?
It's pretty literal.
Yeah.
Since you don't always have to be poetic to get a point across, I guess, and sometimes just to shoot straight with it from the hip is the best way to do it. And that just seemed the best way to sum up this album, I guess.
So were you isolating and medicating before the album or during?
No, there's a whole bunch of deeper meaning in that whole thing, man.
Oh, okay.
No, it was just pretty much. I was just locking myself away and drinking and writing music, you know.
Right.
So that was I mean, I'd like to say there's a whole lot more below the surface, but it's just an explanation for the process, I guess.
Right. Well, God, I guess if you go all the way back to Gasoline, you guys have had a string of of number one songs, a string. But you're not writing the same song over and over again. The next one doesn't sound anything like the last one. You had, for example, Gasoline, or you had Remedy, straight ahead rock songs, and then you had Fake It, which has got kind of like that swing beat, and then you had Country Song, which has obviously got some twang to it. Now you've got like Words as Weapons, which is kind of like that old Tears for Fears kind of Gary Jules thing. But every single song is different, and they all shoot straight to number one. Have you figured out a formula? Have you got some secret that you're not sharing with the rest of the world, or what is it? Do you just have a good ear? You know, when you hear a hit song,
I think if we knew what the formula was, we'd all have Nickelback money.
Yeah.
No, we just write songs that we like to hear, man, and we like to write. We write songs that we like to play and that we see as being a whole in the genre. You know, I think a lot of bands sound the same. So
yeah.
It's annoying that there's a whole bunch of bands coming up now that I can't tell the difference between them.
Right.
And I mean, I'd love to be able to, but.
Right. And each song sounds like the next, and then the next album sounds like the last album.
Everyone's using the same guitars through the same amps with the same effects in the same studios. And it's like, so how do you become an individual? Or how do you get your own sound if everything you're doing sounds the same as everybody else? And everybody's playing the same guitars on stage and the same rigs. It's like, well, then you guys are all going to sound the same. And it becomes this homogenized mess of mediocrity that I just, prefer not to be part of. So.
Well, the advantage to not having Nickelback money is you don't have Nickelback songs. Either, I guess.
I don't mind their songs. I mean, I must be honest. They for what they are, it's.
But there is a formula there. There is something. They sold their soul to the devil. And, they do that, something's going on.
They do that well, and they get hated universally and panned for it. And I think it's unfair that they get so much grief about it. I mean, they never set out to try and be, I think, a serious band. I think he's just writing party songs, and he's really good at that. And so good for him. And we've done a couple of tours of Nickelback, and they're super nice guys. So I do feel bad for them. I don't like comparisons between us and them because I don't think we sound similar. No. But as far as that goes, I mean, I'll defend those guys till the end because they've been nothing but good to us. And,
well, what's the other?
And I sometimes, we were just watching something the other night, and it was like we were watching Conan last night, and Jonah Hill was talking about how there was a movie where he wanted to have a Nickelback song, and he was on this acid trip, and I guess it was supposed to take, they're trying to make fun of Nickelback again, which is weird. It's like it's almost like making fun of the kid in the wheelchair at this point. It's like it's just move on to somebody else.
Yeah.
And so I guess Nickelback said no, and he was like, well, and I felt really bad for them. There's no reason for them to be the whipping boys every single time. There are other really bad bands out there. Maybe pick some other ones. At least Nickelback's good at what they do.
Well, the problem is once you make it to the top, people want to tear you down. So when you become that popular.
Well, I mean, they took the mantle off to Creed, but I'd say rather make fun of like Linkin Park, know.
Right.
God.
My producer Sarah's like.
Well, they're also a big band, so isn't that everyone likes to make fun of the guys at the top, right?
I make fun of them all the time, and she'll come across the room and strain.
That's fine. I'm pretty sure I deserve it, but I would honestly, I'd say there's somebody that does the same thing over and over again as well. You know what I mean? Occasionally they do something that's slightly different, and you have to give them credit for it, but it's like. Yeah, I mean, there's if your target is the band at the top, then surely they should be one of those. You know what I mean?
Right. Now, tell me about the Rise Above Fest that you guys do now. This will be the second year. You did it back in May in Maine, correct? To raise awareness for suicide prevention. Right.
We skipped last year, unfortunately, but it's something we'd like to do annually now if we can. Right. It was really good. It was great. We had a lot of friends that donated stuff for auctions and things like that. A lot of bands, came out and played. Avenged Sevenfold, Hell Yeah, a bunch of other guys. And we raised a lot of money and hopefully some awareness for, suicide. It's not something that people tend to want to talk about, but it's a really big problem, amongst teenagers and war vets coming back, and they don't know where to go, what to do. So, hopefully we can.
And I think with the recent passing of Robin Williams, you see that it can affect anyone. Yeah, it really can.
Yeah, I mean, it's something someone famous to make a real difference.
It's sad, but it's true. Yeah. It's sad, but true. Yeah.
Famous people get sad too. That's
weird. Yeah, and it's something that a lot of people try to sweep under the rug and they don't want to talk about. And, it's like, oh, that's a problem. You shouldn't have that problem. It's a sickness like any other sickness. Yeah. It's something that should be discussed. Right. So let me ask you a question, Sean. 5 CDs, your 5 favorite CDs. Let's say we'll do the old desert island thing. You're going to be stranded on an island. You only have 5 CDs. Trust me, there's a CD player. You have
okay.
You can only everybody was going, well, if I'm on or not. No, you got 5 CDs you can only take for the rest of your life.
Okay.
What are they going to be?
Vanilla Ice to the Extreme.
Wow. That is extreme.
Dolly Parton's Greatest Hits.
Perfect.
Anything by my boy Kenny Rogers.
Yeah.
Then, have you heard of those Rockabye Lullaby CDs?
Yes.
With their little bells?
Which one do you
The Tool one.
Tool. Yes. Perfect.
That really puts me to sleep every night. And then, I don't know, something by Aqua.
I suspect you would
Aqua's
die an early death on this island.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the whole point is not to survive a long time.
See,
Drive yourself insane with
Dale,
music.
how about
don't
you?
care.
Let me see if I
my.
get a straight answer out of you. 5 CDs.
Vulgar Display of Power.
Okay, good.
August and Everything After.
Right.
By Counting Crows.
Right. That was a good record. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else? This is a really tough one.
Yeah, and you'll always think of something later.
Yeah.
I can't believe I.
And Justice for All, maybe.
Yeah, Metallica, sure.
Wouldn't you like a Guns N' Roses album with you as well?
Yeah, maybe some Guns N' Roses. I don't know. Maybe like a Bob Seger's Greatest Hits or something. Change it up a little bit.
Yeah, sure,
and then
sure.
like something by Explosions in the Sky or something. So I'll be able to cover all my bases.
Good. So when did the beards come along, guys? I notice everybody sporting the beard now. Everybody's sporting the beard, even in the artwork in the album. Yeah.
It's a prerequisite for being in the band.
It's like
Must have facial hair.
He doesn't grow enough, so he's allowed to trim his up in a certain direction.
He's talking to Brian, who's got the least amount of facial hair in the room.
We just developed a healthy obsession with Paul Bunyan.
Right.
It's not a big deal.
Now, do you trim them or do you let them go full on like Grizzly Adams?
We don't do that.
Yeah.
Whatever's the easiest. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm just letting myself go pretty much.
It beats shaving, man.
It does. It really does.
You know,
Yeah.
I used to trim a while, and then I stopped doing that. So I'll let it grow really long, and then I'll trim it down, and then
Right.
I'll grow it out again.
Right. The only reason I cut mine is I trimmed it about a month ago because it was down. It was about like Irishon because my wife makes me do it. She's like, "That is the nasty. You look homeless. It's nasty. There's stuff. There's food
I find
in there."
people ask me for less change in the streets now. For real. But I do get offered weed a lot more, which is weird too.
That's all right. So tell me about Wind Up Records. You guys formed in 1999 in South Africa under the name Sarangas, correct?
Yeah.
And then you were signed to Wind Up Records. Changed the name to Seether.
Best part of my life.
Right. So then Wind Up Records, of course, sells the rights to their back catalog and your contract to another company. That had to scare the crap out of you. Yeah, no?
Yeah.
It was pretty awful. And we didn't get an email or a phone call or a text or anything from anyone. So we found out basically in a press release that we'd been sold off to somebody else.
Wow.
Halfway through writing the new album. So that was put on hold for a
And you
while.
have no idea what's going to happen at this point. You don't know if you're going to get dropped. You don't know if you're going to...
Well, then you look up their back catalog and there's not a lot of rock bands on there, man. We don't, Ella Fitzgerald and Ray Charles are good company to be in, but I don't know that we necessarily fit,
Right.
But I mean, they also got Paul McCartney and amongst others. But certainly in the beginning, it felt like, well, we were just going to be shelved, and then they would concentrate on the other back catalog stuff that they'd bought that would make them more money.
Yeah.
It turns out they're the greatest label we've ever been signed to, and they hired a whole rock department just for our band, and then to start that side of their label going, and everyone that works on the label is awesome, and everyone that we deal with is more passionate than I think than our entire label was in 12 years.
Really, yeah.
And that's person to person. So we feel like we finally got signed to a real label, and I hope something horrible happens to the other one. I have no problem with that comically happening to me. I mean, they certainly would deserve it, I guess.
Right.
I mean, I spent 12 years being told by A&R people I don't know what I'm doing.
Wow.
Telling me that I can't write songs, that I suck, that I should hire other people to do it for me. I mean, so I have no love for that label, man.
Did you ever just take number one song after number one song and shove it back in their
Oh
face?
yeah,
and go,
I didn't think I would have to. I didn't think I'd have to, but every single time we did a new album, it was the same story and it was the same runaround every time, and to the point where I wanted to quit, man.
Yeah.
Because if someone keeps telling you for that long and that consistently that you don't know what you're doing, it makes you want to just give up, And I will never forgive those guys for that. because the A&R guy co-wrote one song with Daughtry, and now he knows everything about songwriting. It's like, dude, bite me, man. Seriously. And you're friends with Train?
Right.
Who says that out loud?
Right.
Train sucks. Even Train hates Train.
How do you really feel?
Oh yeah, I thought I cleaned it up though for radio, man.
That's good. Well, they are. I suppose the bright spot in that whole story is they signed your band and you are where you are today, 15 years later.
Yeah, and I must say, 6 months later, when we started dealing with them and we started meeting them, it was amazing. Yeah. And even going into the studio, they were like, "Yeah, go ahead, we believe in you guys." And they never got involved. Yeah. They came in at the very end, and they were having a listening party with Brendan O'Brien, and everyone stood up and was cheering, and like it was really cool. Like they really believe in what we do, and it's awesome to have someone finally believing in us as well, which we never had before.
So who was it that told you to cover "Careless Whisper" and have you fired them? No, it's not as good as Bananarama. That's all I'm saying.
The reason we always get asked to do these stupid things, and so we said, well, let's do something really stupid.
Right.
And
I thought it was great, to be honest with you. I'm just busting your balls.
Well, there's a whole long story behind it. Dale and I used to play that to each other on each other's voicemails in South Africa. It was like our little, love song to each other.
Right.
And because who can deny that saxophone solo?
Ironically, of course.
And so then we get asked as all bands, hey, can you guys do a serious song for Valentine's Day? So we said, sure. Put us in the studio for a day. We'll deliver a Valentine's Day song for you. Right. And obviously, it's us taking the piss, right? So it's like, cool. And then it becomes, well, no one gets the sense of humor. No one gets it that it's a joke. Now they want it to be a single because Wind Up has no vision. And it becomes a single, and then it gets put on the album, and it's, and so on and so forth. And then I think the last time we played it was about 4 or 5 years ago. And I think the last time we played it, there was a guy standing by the soundboard just flipping us off the whole way through the song. I was like, I get it, man. It's not. I understand. So it was something that like that where we were just making fun of ourselves in front of this request, because when we find we don't have a choice, if we do it badly, then we don't get asked again, and we never got asked again to do a Valentine's Day song. So I guess mission accomplished. But George Michael didn't mind.
No, yeah, sure. Because how does that work when you cover somebody's song and it gets a lot of airplay?
He made a lot of money.
He makes a lot of money.
All the money. Yeah.
And you guys don't see anything. It's just.
So you're welcome.
Not
George.
a lot of money in covering songs, then, is there? So are you making Veruca Salt some cash too?
Hopefully,
yeah.
I don't understand what the whole thing is with those people either, man. I just read an interview recently where they thought we were making fun of them by choosing where we denied even knowing that they existed, and I was like, man, you know what? Just if you read a couple of interviews and pull your head right out of your backside, we named this band because we like the song and we like the band, and I'm sick and tired of them talking crap about us because they live under a rock and don't have internet.
See, I thought they'd be flattered. I always thought it was cool, and I had always wondered why it had taken you so long to cover that song.
Yeah, and to be honest, like I'm kind of disappointed that it was like you're paying them homage, and you. We did the song, which sort of coincided at the right time with them trying to make a comeback and all this kind of. So we basically helping them out.
Sure.
And all they can do is talk smack, and I'm like, man. God, is it too late to change the band name? I could find something way cooler.
Don't you have the Seether tattoos, though? I think
Dale does, yeah. I never made that mistake, because I always knew that someday I'm going to change the band name. I'm not that committed to this band.
Right. 15 years later, still not going to get the Seether tattoo.
Yeah, no. I probably won't, man.
Yeah. So on the I guess you'd call it the collection, the greatest hits record, 2002 through 2013. Is that what it was? Mm-hmm. It's got the dog defecating on the.
Yes.
Was that? I had read somewhere that was kind of a tribute to Wind Up. That was.
Well, I didn't really like the idea.
Right.
So they said we could do the artwork. And we sent them a message.
Good. Okay. So
and if you look closely, there's actually a turd coming out of his butt. But you have to look. You have to look really closely. Yeah. And also, don't say we're not a class act, bro. We just didn't want to do it, man. We thought it was premature. We thought it was a cash cow on their part. But it ultimately turned out to be the last thing we did with them. Right. So it was a good way to say goodbye to them. Yeah. And I just honestly. That was my opinion of it. I don't like those things. I've never liked them. Unless it's been 30 or 40 years, I don't think it's necessary. And so, hear people that have bought our music, buy these songs again. Yeah. Like
I will tell you the upside to those collections, those greatest hits records, as a kid, when you could only afford, if you liked a band, and you could only afford one record, and you could buy a record that had all the songs you liked from this band on it. That was pretty cool, because I remember buying a lot of those collections.
I like that too, but I think it's also does a disservice to any band to say, hey, these are the songs that the label wanted you to hear.
Right.
Whereas the songs we want you to hear are probably the ones that aren't those ones.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So maybe it's a good introduction to people, and it does serve a purpose. But we just didn't want to do it, and it's like it's either something you do when you have nothing else going on,
Right.
Yeah.
or because like you're trying to get out of a record deal, you know, and even then they didn't count it as an album anyway, so it didn't help us get closer to getting away from that label anyway. But yeah, it's done now, and so it is what it is. But I don't think we'll be doing any of those anytime soon again,
No.
you know, unless we get to do the artwork again.
Right. So 15 years. 15 years, man. Do you ever stop and go, wow, 15 years? I've been successful at this for 15 years.
I think we do, and certainly when we look at some of the bands that we've toured with, many bands that aren't even around anymore.
Right,
Like if you think back to this when we started Trust Company, Submersed, then there were a whole bunch of bands, even on our label. 12 Stones was even on our label. They're gone.
Yeah.
Social Burn, Cinch, Epidemic,
Raw.
They made a comeback. They have a song called something what super bass heavy dubstep or something. You haven't heard it? No, because he doesn't pay attention.
Okay.
I pay attention. It's called super dubstep or something.
I like Raw though, so I'll check it out.
Yeah.
But if you think about it that way, there's a lot of bands that didn't
And
make
good
it.
bands that-
Yeah, I
that
mean,
don't make it.
I think
Yeah.
honestly, one of our bands that we liked the most was Social Burn. I thought it was real good poppy songwriting, and I don't know why they ever didn't make it. You know? And I certainly would prefer them to a lot of the stuff that's out now. But yeah, we never. I don't know. Somehow we were lucky to be here, I guess, and it's great. I mean, you know. I definitely appreciate it.
Yeah.
But I feel, but by the same token, you almost feel bad for the other guys, you know, because
Right.
I think they deserved it too.
Right. What's it like for Dale and John watching the other half of the band play? Like you guys are just
It's a
chilling over
trip.
here.
It's like-
You guys are wearing flip flops and Bahama shorts.
I hope I'm there by osmosis, man. I can't
Right.
like, I don't know, swing with it, and you want to be a part of it. You are a part of it, but yet you're watching it.
Yeah, isn't that
It's really cool. It's great.
Yeah,
to
I was
see.
watching you guys get into it. And I'm like, yeah, this is cool.
Yeah.
Just to speaking of your music, this is something. You know, you go through, I guess, stages where there's so much music out there that you listen to 5 or 10 records for a while, and then 6 months later you'll switch that up and listen to 5 or 10 records. And it'd been a while since I'd gone and listened to like all my Seether records. But preparing for this, I went back and listened to them. I forgot how much I dig your music, man. Really, really good stuff. It's also my favorite gym music. If you're like those days that if I put on something like Gasoline,
Yeah.
I don't care how lazy I'm feeling. It makes me want to kill somebody. It's great.
Awesome.
In a good way.
That's good.
So you're touring now with Godsmack, part of these festival shows. You guys have done a lot of festivals over the years. You've played a few for us, the MM Barbecues. I think
Yeah.
2 of them now. Do you like these kind of shows where you get to see all these other bands play? And do you watch the other bands play?
We like these shows,
Yeah.
and we watch these bands. Usually we're actually, we watch all the bands if we can, especially
Because you see a lot of bands that go on these festival
At least
type
one
shows
time,
and they
yeah.
stay on the bus, and you don't see them until they come out and play. And I think there's a lot of those bands that are maybe playing the second, third, fourth slot that might be up and comers that could really, really get a leg up if the headliners of that festival show came out and watched their set, or at least give them a few words of encouragement. Is that the point I'm
I
trying?
will say this one doesn't feel as if there's that much camaraderie
Right.
amongst everybody as there normally is.
Right,
So it's not quite as summer campy as they normally are.
Sure.
But that's not through no fault of our own, because we'll, run about half an hour after our set. There's at least 3 of us that are feeling really, really good.
Well, perfect example is Hailstorm, Lizzie Hale, the kids from the Philadelphia area here, and we've been with them since they were playing bar gigs.
Yeah.
And when they got out on the road with guys like you,
Yeah.
and with all these other bands on these festival shows, it really, really increased their exposure. I mean, they blew up from that.
But also, we had a lot of camaraderie. We loved those kids,
Yeah.
and it was like we'd hang out with each other every day, and we'd watch each other play every day. And I don't really have that with a lot of bands anymore. Right. We've done some tours where it's like, when we did Crossfade and Dark New Day, and us, it was like that tour was killer. We were all we would go everywhere together, all the bands and crews and everything. And I think that unfortunately, some of the younger bands think they're too cool these days, and I've had some run-ins with some of them before. Because if you don't play your instruments, I don't respect you.
Right.
And
that really happens.
a lot.
Yeah, man. Like
Really?
no,
Lot
like
of tape,
blatantly just miming, dude. So I immediately, I don't know,
playing to
maybe
attract
I just think if you're in a band, you're supposed to be playing, and I think that you know that your hair shouldn't take longer to do than it takes you to write some songs. You know what I mean? Is that wrong? I mean, I don't know.
No, well, I didn't realize it was so rampant. I didn't realize that it happened as often as it apparently does.
I think unfortunately there's a reversion to this idea that the image is more important than the music, and that's more substance than what's on the CD, and I think that's really sad. But you know, that's having said that, I mean, I'm sure these guys will be working in a Taco Bell in about 6 years. I don't know.
Yeah.
But there's some bands on this tour that I'm not fans of.
Yeah.
But other bands that I am fans of. So it just doesn't feel the same. It just doesn't feel like it's fun.
Right.
It is. I mean, it's great to be on a tour and playing and having a good time. It just doesn't, like, nobody wants to hang out.
Do you have a favorite band to tour with? Like if you could put
anybody
together
that wants to hang out with us.
Yeah. Right.
Well, and in fact, some of the nicest guys to tour with are Nickelback. Again, those guys,
great tour.
they look after the bands they tour with, and
I suppose if
super nice guys.
If you're on the road day in and day out, really that camaraderie is a big deal.
Well, wouldn't you? Yeah.
I mean,
instead of everyone hanging their heads when they walk by each other in the hallway, which is kind of, it's odd. Or going into catering like, I don't want to see that guy right now. I guess I'll eat later. You know, it's like, and that's what's been happening, man.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. Maybe I should shut my mouth because I get
it seems like the road would wear on you real quick. Like if that.
I'm just over that stuff where like we all sing Kumbaya backstage. It doesn't happen. You know what I mean? The reality is that some guys out there are not cool guys to hang out with, and other guys are. And unfortunately, I mean, and all of us kind of missed those days when it was a tour when everybody really got on really well.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, this isn't one of those. So, you know. And that doesn't make it a bad tour. It just means that we just have more fun with ourselves than we do with other people, you know. And other people don't get to get these charming personalities.
So when you're not on the road, what are you guys doing? Do you go back to South Africa? Do you stay here in the States? Do you have a place you call home?
Yeah.
I used to. Yeah. Until I don't care what you believe, but I bought a house that was haunted, and I'm just selling it.
Get out of here.
It was crazy, man.
Where?
Nashville.
Yeah, really.
And so much so that
now you got to tell the story. You can't just say that, huh?
So there was a whole bunch of stuff going on for a couple of months, and so much so that one night, my girlfriend and I actually got in our car and left because we were so afraid of something. Because the doors to our bedroom sort of got slammed into, like it was somebody on the other side trying to get through.
Right.
And after I'd finished wiping my underwear out, we literally got in a car, drove to a hotel, and then called like this, because we'd called this ghost paranormal activity kind of investigative group, and they said they could only come on the Friday, and this was on a Sunday night, so we actually went and stayed in a hotel till the Friday and came back because I wasn't going to go back in there without their help. And basically what happened was there was a whole bunch of stuff that they came in and did, and then it didn't help, so nothing happened. So I'm out.
So what kind of?
I don't like fighting stuff I can't see.
Yeah, right.
Well, no, it was just antagonistic stuff. Like it was stuff to keep you on edge, and so every time you think that okay, cool, nothing's going on, then something would happen, like a noise or a knock or a bang or something that was like obvious, like hey, you know, and it just bizarre. I mean, I was always on edge, and I didn't want to go home, so I didn't feel like I was. I mean, I wasn't sleeping. I was waking up every morning at 3:30 in the morning, and then like smelling like rotting meat, or closet doors would open themselves.
Yeah, it's time to move. Yeah,
man.
Okay.
And I spent 35 years. I'm 35 now, so I was like, well, maybe they are ghosts. I don't know. Now I'm like, yeah, they are, dude.
Yeah, right.
So that I used to watch that Ghost Adventure show, and I thought, yeah, that's hocus, man. Somebody threw that rock. No, dude. I mean, unless somebody ran into our house, slammed those doors, and then ran back out, we couldn't see them. And they were like, that we could see shadow figures through the doors and stuff. And
so you live on the bus now? What are you
dude,
doing?
as of right now, I'm camping out in someone's backyard. Whoever's got the biggest yard, I'm camping in it.
Right.
It just, I mean, I don't know. It wasn't for me, man. Like, I was terrified half the time. So, dude, I'm a grown man and I'm scared of turning off the lights at night. Come on.
Yeah.
That's not cool.
Well, I always get chills when I hear stories like this, because when you talk to another grown man who's obviously got his wits about him and he says, dude, I left for a week because I was that scared. You go, wow, there was something there.
Yeah. And, it's really cool. People are like, oh, there's no such thing as fine. Believe that.
Yeah.
Because I'm glad you can go through life like that. But I never really believed either. And I used to think people were out of their minds, and now I know they're not. So it's just it just takes one horrifically terrifying. And it wasn't like, then we get stories about like, okay, so this other couple moved into a house in your neighborhood, and they were unpacking their kitchen stuff, and the knives started flying into the closets. I'm like, that was a little bit more extreme than what we had.
Yeah.
At least ours was just a little noisy, but it was kind of, I don't know. Yeah. Freeloaders. But anyway, yeah, it was pretty scary.
Oh, thanks for freaking me out.
No, man, no problem. It's great.
That's great. Seether, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming in today. We really, really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure. You guys sound great. You can see him tonight with Godsmack at the SBC as part of the show out there tonight. What time? Do you guys know what time you go on?
8:05.
8:05. About 8:05 this evening. Again, always a pleasure to see you guys. Thanks so much. We wish you another 15 years of success, man. We really do.
Thank you.
You think you'll still be touring in 15 years?
Maybe not as many shows a year as this.
Right.
I'll be 50 in 15 years.
Well, that's what Do you think somebody like Robert Plant or Mick Jagger, or any of those guys?
You think when they thought, really sad to think about it.
When they were like 30, they thought, "Oh, I'll be done. We'll be done by the time we're 35."
When you're 16, you think so, yeah.
Yeah.
You think, "Oh, I'll be retired by 25.
Yeah.
It'd be sweet."
Yeah.
Now I'm rapidly approaching even 40, and it's terrifying. I'm starting to go gray. Some silver beard hairs.
Can you see yourself on stage at like 65?
Oh man.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can, yeah.
But I think we'll be playing all like the softer stuff, though.
There you go.
There
you go.
None of the headbangy stuff.
We'll be playing like casinos in Atlantic City.
Yeah.
If there are any left.
Seated shows, too.
We'll do gasoline and then jokes for 15 minutes.
Right. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Seether. Come on.
Thank you.